43 years ago, a bank employee named Charlotte Reed suddenly vanished in the middle of a crowded street, disappearing without a trace, leaving her family in confusion and pain. Authorities suspected her husband, the owner of a nearby pawn shop, of being involved, but no body was found. There was no concrete evidence, and the investigation ultimately stalled. However, through all those years, a cold case unit investigator never gave up, always believing there was something unseen in the old case files. Then one day, while reviewing the 1982 documents, she discovered a short note that everyone had overlooked. New cement wall, not checked. And that small detail changed the entire direction of the investigation, leading to a truth that shocked the whole city. Before diving deep into this haunting story, let us know where you're watching from, and if you love cases that are solved after years of silence, don't forget to hit subscribe to follow along. Summer of 1982, Oklahoma City was in a period of strong transformation, an expanding urban center with newly built glass buildings, multi-level parking lots, and bustling shopping districts. The air was stifling, the pavement radiating heat that made the city shimmer in the sunlight. Residents were accustomed to the industrial pace of life, hurried mornings, bustling lunch hours around office areas, afternoons with streams of cars heading to the suburbs. In that picture of daily life, Charlotte Reed, 30 years old, a teller at the First National Bank branch, was a familiar face in the financial district. She was described as calm, punctual, and rarely leaving the office during work hours. On a Monday in mid-June, Charlotte arrived at work as usual, handled paperwork, signed documents, and briefly chatted with colleagues about weekend plans. Near lunchtime, she tidied her desk, put files in the drawer, and said she was stepping out for a quick bite, adding that she'd be back soon to finish the transaction log. A few people saw her walk through the main lobby, carrying a small purse, looking as normal as any other day. No one paid attention to which way she went, and there was no sign that this would be the last time they saw Charlotte Reed. In the afternoon, colleagues noticed her desk was still empty, files unfinished, her jacket still on the chair. They called home, but no one answered. As evening fell, her husband, Darrell Reed, couldn't reach her either. He drove around downtown, stopped at familiar eateries, but no one remembered seeing Charlotte. Late that night, the family officially reported to police that she was missing. The report was forwarded to the Oklahoma City Police Department's dispatch center, and an urgent file was immediately opened under the missing persons category. The next morning, the initial response team was dispatched to the downtown area to check her workplace. Investigator Owen Price, with nearly 2 decades of experience in civil cases and urban disappearances, was assigned to lead. He arrived at the scene as bank employees were starting their new shift. The high-rise building was in the heart of the bustling financial district, surrounded by multi-level parking garages and the Penn Square shopping center, where Charlotte often went during lunch breaks. Owen met the bank manager, gathered descriptions of the victim, her behavior before disappearing, and daily habits. According to colleagues, Charlotte was punctual, careful, and rarely absent without notice. That morning, she had handled transactions normally, showing no signs of worry or conflict with anyone. The police's initial on-site notes showed Charlotte's car was still in its usual spot, second row from the main entrance. The doors were locked. Inside were a small purse, work notebook, bank receipts, and a folded magazine. No signs of forced entry, windows intact, driver's seat and rearview mirror in position. The investigator noted no drag marks, skid marks, or signs of struggle around the vehicle area. Forensic officers photographed the entire parking lot, collected soil samples, footprints, and small items nearby, though everything seemed part of the shopping area's normal activity. Next, Owen checked Charlotte's route. According to bank security, she was last seen leaving the building around lunchtime, walking through the multi-level parking garage toward Penn Square Mall. No one saw anyone with her, and no one reported hearing arguments or cries for help. Side exits leading to the shopping area were thoroughly checked, but no suspicious traces were found. Since most of downtown at that time lacked security cameras, police couldn't pull any footage. Owen sketched a summary map starting point. Bank office, stop, multi-level parking, final route toward the shopping district. The path ended within a few hundred meters in a high-traffic area, but no one could describe what happened. His report stated, "A silent disappearance, no witnesses, no physical clues." Police initially hypothesized that Charlotte might have met someone she knew, someone she trusted enough to leave the work area with, or was persuaded to get into another's car without resisting. The lack of signs of force temporarily ruled out violent crime. While the team canvassed nearby areas, Owen contacted the family to assess the victim's personal situation, relationships, schedule, and any recent events. Her husband, Darrell Reed, said he was at his business all day and hadn't seen his wife since morning. The family confirmed Charlotte had no reason to leave town, no debts, no health or mental issues. After completing on-site checks, Owen wrote in the preliminary assessment, "Missing person last seen in public area, no signs of resistance, no clear voluntary departure. Case likely involves a known acquaintance or personal relation." The case was numbered 82-417, marking the start of an official investigation into the unsolved disappearance of Charlotte Reed, the woman who vanished in broad daylight in the city's busiest spot. Immediately after the file was opened, a search was launched on a downtown scale. Police divided into 3 teams, one focusing on the bank area and the other 2 sweeping around Penn Square shopping district, identified as the last place the victim was seen. There, officers coordinated with building security and janitorial staff, checking every parking level, stairwells, utility areas, and emergency exits. Less traveled spots like electrical rooms, trash storage, and side corridors were unlocked and inspected. All large dumpsters and manholes in the area were flashlight searched and filmed. The search teams found no signs of struggle or crime evidence, only a small silver earring near the basement ramp of the parking garage. The item was sealed and sent to the crime lab for analysis, though ownership couldn't be confirmed yet. In the basement, K9 units were brought in but lost the scent immediately in an area with strong gasoline fumes, complicating the track. Owen Price oversaw the process, requiring detailed notes of every checked location to avoid oversights. He noted the complex structure of auxiliary areas around the mall. With many doors connecting technical corridors, this made it entirely possible for someone to leave unnoticed. By day's end, no other evidence was found. The summary report sent up was brief. No results, continue expanded search. The next morning, police launched Phase 2, extending the search radius to adjacent areas. Patrol teams canvassed along Northwest 23rd Street, public parking lots, small parks, abandoned warehouses, and construction sites within 2 miles. Locations likely for storing vehicles or goods were thoroughly checked, as Owen believed if Charlotte was taken against her will, the perpetrator might have used another vehicle. All car rental shops, repair garages, and gas stations nearby were required to provide transaction receipts from the day she vanished. However, by week's end, results remained unchanged. No one remembered seeing Charlotte Reed. No one heard cries for help. No witnesses saw suspicious activity. This situation challenged investigators. The victim disappeared in an area with hundreds passing through, yet left no viable trace. By day 4, Owen proposed extending to northern suburbs, where many storage units and small industrial sites operated at night. Police coordinated with volunteers, dividing into wide area sweep teams. They checked dirt roads leading out of town, vacant lots along highways, while monitoring reports from hospitals and unidentified person centers. All efforts yielded no leads. Meanwhile, the police department issued an official statement to local media, announcing Charlotte Reed's disappearance and calling for public information. Her photo and detailed description were printed on flyers, distributed at malls, post offices, and gas stations. Radio and TV stations aired short bulletins during peak hours about the woman who vanished in broad daylight. Though news spread, hotline calls were few, mostly mismatches. One reported seeing someone like Charlotte at a southern market, but checks showed it was a mistake. 5 days after she vanished, the search covered all downtown and suburbs. but police had no concrete evidence. Owen Price compiled the report, concluding the initial search phase yielded no results. All data, photos, and evidence, including the unowned earring, were sealed for further analysis. The city returned to normal life, but in the police department's files, the Charlotte Reed case was marked with a short note: no initial results, continue monitoring and gathering new witnesses. After nearly a week of fruitless searching, the investigative agency shifted its focus to canvassing witnesses in the downtown area. A series of interviews were conducted with bank employees, security guards, and workers in the buildings surrounding Penn Square Mall. On the 8th day, a new detail emerged when police recontacted the parking lot attendants at the shopping complex. A young employee named Robert Kelly recalled that, during the lunchtime on the day Charlotte disappeared, he had seen a woman in a green dress talking to a man in a gray suit near the staircase leading from the second-floor parking level down to the side exit. When shown a photo of Charlotte, Robert confirmed it was very similar to the person he saw, but he wasn't completely certain due to the long observation distance and the harsh sunlight reflecting off the glass doors, causing glare. He said the two were standing next to a silver sedan-type car, talking briefly, not loudly, after which he left to direct other vehicles. When he returned, both were gone. Police recorded the statement, viewing it as the first lead, suggesting Charlotte may have left the area with someone else. They proceeded to check the list of vehicles registered entering and exiting the parking lot during that lunchtime frame, but the manual logging system of 1982 was incomplete. Only a few license plates were sporadically noted. The data did not allow identification of the silver car or the man in the gray suit. Owen Price personally re-interviewed the parking attendant, requesting a more detailed description of the man's build and identifying features. Robert only remembered that the man was tall, with short black hair, a deep voice, and calm demeanor. He saw no unusual behavior, no signs of struggle or coercion. This statement ruled out the hypothesis of a random criminal attack, but simultaneously opened the possibility that the man was an acquaintance or had a personal relationship with Charlotte. Police canvassed additional stores and restaurants around the Penn Square area, asking if anyone had seen a woman matching the description. All results were negative. No other witnesses confirmed seeing Charlotte meet anyone or leave in any vehicle. Due to the crowded area with constant foot traffic, conflicting information made verification difficult. The scene report was updated. Victim may have met an acquaintance and left the area in another vehicle. Identity of companion undetermined. The lack of imagery further complicated the investigation. In 1982, office buildings and shopping centers in Oklahoma City did not commonly have security camera systems. Only a few facilities had analog video recorders at main entrances, and Penn Square was not among them. Videotapes from nearby stores, when checked, showed nothing beyond normal pedestrian traffic during the time the victim was believed to have vanished. Owen began building his own hypothesis. Charlotte may have left her workplace with someone she trusted, possibly a colleague, close friend, or old acquaintance. Therefore, he directed the investigative team to gather information on all of the victim's personal relationships, including coworkers, former classmates, neighbors, and especially family. Charlotte's personal file was expanded. Police determined she was married to Darrell Reed, 34, owner of a small pawn shop on the west side of the city. The couple had been living together for 8 years, with no children. Neighbors described them as a reclusive pair with little social interaction, occasionally arguing but nothing serious. When questioned, Charlotte's family confirmed that her marriage had recently been under significant strain due to financial disagreements and work issues. Owen noted this in the file. Marital relationship shows signs of strain. Need to verify husband's schedule on the day of the incident. Police sent an official request to the operational unit to check Darrell's calls and transactions from the morning to afternoon of the day Charlotte disappeared, while also compiling a list of close contacts who regularly communicated with the victim. At the end of the report section, Owen wrote, "Sole witness describes victim talking to unidentified man. Current hypothesis, Victim left area with acquaintance, likely in another vehicle. Continue verifying personal relationships. With that concluding line, the investigation shifted to a new direction, examining the network of relatives and Charlotte Reed's closest connections. After the parking attendant's statement was recorded and the acquaintance approach hypothesis was incorporated into the main investigative direction, Owen Price immediately proposed a search warrant for the Reed couple's private residence. The warrant was approved by the court the next morning on the basis of the victim being missing for over a week without a trace, along with inconsistencies in the husband's statements. The investigative team conducted the house search in the early afternoon, with Darrell Reed present. The red brick house was located in a quiet residential area in Nichols Hills, less than a 10-minute drive from downtown. The yard was neatly trimmed, windows shut tight, curtains drawn precisely, everything exuded order, even excessively so. Upon entering, Owen noticed that all furnishings were meticulously arranged, with no item out of place. The living room was bright, leather chairs unscratched, glass table dust-free. In Charlotte's bedroom, the bed was neatly made. Blanket smooth flat, suitcase locked in the closet, showing no signs she had prepared to leave. The wardrobe contained full sets of clothing, shoes, and handbags, nothing missing. On the vanity table, the jewelry box was open. Small items neatly placed, with only a few empty spots that Darrell said were ones she usually wore daily. The technical team photographed the entire layout and took fingerprint samples for comparison. There were no signs of struggle, no scratches or damage on walls, no blood or foreign fibers detected under UV light. When moving to the garage area, Owen noticed the first discrepancy. The concrete garage floor was divided into two distinct color sections, one older, darker, and worn, the other brighter, smoother, with a fresh seam line. When asked, Darrell explained that he had just repaired the floor due to water seepage from rain. No repair invoice was provided on the spot. He said he would find and submit it later. Owen requested this detail be noted in the minutes. He saw no tools or construction materials in the house, only a basic toolkit. Against the back wall of the garage was a metal rack holding paint cans, oil bottles, and a hand-washing bucket, nothing unusual. However, the cement smell was still fresh, contrasting sharply with the aged air of the rest of the garage. During the search of the small ground floor office, an investigator discovered an unsent handwritten letter on the desk. The letter consisted of a few lines, in slightly slanted handwriting, stopping midway, expressing a desire to temporarily leave for a while to sort out thoughts. The letter was undated, unsigned, with an empty envelope beside it. Owen read it carefully, recorded the content in the file, and photographed the original. When asked, Darrell said he was unaware of this letter and suggested his wife might have written it before disappearing. The letter complicated the case. Legally, it opened the possibility that Charlotte left voluntarily, while operationally, it could indicate an attempt to conceal something. The investigative team also checked the kitchen, laundry room, and backyard. No unusual signs were found. The trash contained only wrappers and household items, no suspicious objects. The investigators completed filming the entire house before departing. In the end-of-day report, Owen summarized, "House clean, no signs of struggle. Personal belongings intact. Garage floor has newly poured cement section, bright color and fresh smell. Need to verify repair invoice for construction timing." He added a note. Handwritten letter indicates intent to leave home temporarily, but circumstances and purpose unclear. No evidence victim prepared for long-term departure. Although there was insufficient legal basis to classify this as a criminal case, Owen maintained suspicion about the husband's behavior and demeanor. Throughout the search, Darrell was cooperative, but his responses were monotone, evasive on details, and he kept glancing at his watch. He asked nothing about the investigation's progress and showed no emotion when mentioning his wife. Before leaving, Owen requested he provide the garage floor repair documents within 48 hours. Police sealed copies of the letter and small cement samples taken from the garage wall edge for analysis. As they left the quiet neighborhood, Owen added a short line in his notebook, No signs of violence, but something doesn't add up. With this assessment, he completed the search report and submitted it to superiors for further verification of the outstanding details around the Reed couple's home. 2 days after the search, Darrell Reed was summoned to the Oklahoma City Police Department for a formal interrogation. The session was conducted in a standard interview room with audio recording and oversight by the district prosecutor. Owen Price led the interrogation, bringing all collected evidence from the scene and prior statements. The goal was to verify Darrell's schedule on the day Charlotte disappeared and clarify inconsistencies in his account. From the start, Darrell maintained a calm demeanor, dressed in a neat suit, accompanied by his personal attorney, despite no charges. He clearly stated that he did not meet his wife on the day of the incident. According to his statement, he left home early that morning to open his pawn shop on Reno Avenue, stayed working until late afternoon, and did not leave during lunchtime. He said shop employees could confirm this. When asked about the state of their marriage, Darrell admitted they were having difficulties, but denied serious conflicts. He described Charlotte as independent, sometimes easily upset, and capable of going somewhere on her own when feeling pressured. This statement caught Owen's attention, as it aligned with the content of the unsent letter found at home, a detail that could be exploited to steer the investigation. When investigators cross-referenced his statement with information from Charlotte's colleagues, the first inconsistency emerged. A bank employee had confirmed that Charlotte once said she would meet her husband at lunch to discuss personal matters. Owen questioned whether such a meeting existed, but Darrell firmly denied it. He claimed his wife might have changed her mind or said that to avoid lunch with colleagues. This response was recorded, but did not explain why Charlotte left work without returning. When asked about the newly poured cement in the garage, Darrell said it was just minor repair to fix water seepage. He couldn't recall the exact date, but insisted it occurred at least a week before she disappeared. He could not produce the repair invoice, saying it might be misplaced. Owen requested he submit the documents within 2 days. During the interrogation, Darrell showed almost no change in expression. His voice was steady, showing no anxiety or confusion. Occasionally, he paused silently for a few seconds before each answer, as if carefully choosing words. His attorney frequently reminded him to answer only within necessary scope. After over an hour, Owen paused to check the consistency of the statement with data from the pawn shop. When contacting 2 employees there, one confirmed seeing Darrell in the morning and late afternoon, but had no clear memory of the lunchtime period. The other said he was out making deliveries during that exact time frame and could not testify. Thus, the period from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. remained unverified. The shop's work log had no entries for transactions or customers during that time. Owen viewed this as a gap needing verification, but could not yet conclude anything. To strengthen the assessment, police proposed Darrell participate in a polygraph examination. He agreed, stating he had nothing to hide. The test was conducted the same day, with questions revolving around the marital relationship, timeline, and last sighting of Charlotte. Results after analysis showed slight graph fluctuations on marriage-related questions, but not enough to conclude deception. The technical report stated inconclusive results. Polygraph could not be used as evidence, but indicated stress signs on certain questions. Owen returned to the interview room, read back the minutes, and had Darrell sign for confirmation. Before leaving, he briefly said, "Everyone is trying to turn this into a tragedy," then quietly stood up. As he left the room, Owen opened his personal notebook and wrote, "No physical evidence, only irrational behavior." He noted that Darrell's coldness was not composure, but seemed like deliberate calculation. A man who always said exactly what was needed, no more, no less. In the internal end-of-day report, Owen concluded, "Statement contradicts witness, lunchtime period unverified. Polygraph inconclusive. No basis for charges, but reasonable suspicion exists." The case file was updated with this evaluation, along with a note to continue verifying Darrell Reed's detailed schedule on the day Charlotte vanished. Following the interrogation of Darrell Reed and the inconclusive polygraph results, Owen Price decided to expand the investigation by examining all of Charlotte's personal activities in the period before her disappearance. He requested the Financial Crime Unit provide transaction history, savings books, and credit card accounts in her name. Data retrieved from the First National Bank branch where Charlotte worked showed her main account balance unchanged since June 10th, 4 days before disappearance. No withdrawals, transfers, or bill payments occurred after that point. A separate savings account at another bank also showed no transactions. Owen noted that if Charlotte had left the city voluntarily, she would have needed to carry cash or withdraw funds, but there was no sign of this. The detailed report also confirmed no one else accessed the accounts using her personal identification code. This ruled out financial fraud or robbery as primary motives. Next, police requested telephone landline data from the Reed residence. Calls to and from the home on the day she disappeared were normal: 2 work calls in the morning, 1 short internal bankline call at 10:30 a.m., then no further contacts. Daryl's call log was cross-checked, showing no calls between them that day. Owen noted, no contact, no messages, no signs of a meeting. Expanding to the local postal system, investigators checked mail and packages sent to the Reed address in the 3 weeks after the disappearance. No new mail was sent or received from Charlotte Reed. All utility, water, and insurance bills were paid by Daryl. Police worked with the Oklahoma Department of Transportation to confirm interstate travel. Results showed no bus, plane tickets, or hotel bookings in Charlotte's name in the system. They contacted neighboring states, Texas, Kansas, Arkansas, but no records existed of anyone with the same name registering for temporary residence or employment. All traces stopped completely on the day she left the office. Personal data showed no activity indicating Charlotte left the state or changed identity. Meanwhile, the operational team canvassed medical centers and forensic facilities in the area for any unnamed patients or bodies matching the description. All results were negative. Police began shifting suspicion: if Charlotte did not leave, she was likely detained or murdered. However, every hypothesis faced the same obstacle: no specific physical evidence. From the car still intact in the parking lot to the spotless house, everything was too perfect to point to any criminal act. Owen Price compared the case to prior missing persons files, but most left at least one personal item forgotten elsewhere or signs of movement. In Charlotte's case, all assets, documents, and vehicles remained in place. The investigative team re-interviewed colleagues, close friends, neighbors, and recent contacts. No one recalled her showing fear or intent to leave. An old friend said Charlotte wanted to live more independently, but mentioned nothing about leaving the city. Finding the information too sparse, Owen requested the technical unit compare cement samples from the Reed garage with standard samples from the same period to determine pouring time. This was exploratory, since no crime was evident, but could help verify if Daryl's claimed repair matched the timeline. Preliminary reports showed the cement layer was quite fresh, no more than 2 weeks old from the sampling date. This figure coincided with Charlotte's disappearance, but chemical analysis was still pending, not yet conclusive. While awaiting results, Owen continued examining indirect data. He analyzed the victim's behavior pattern: middle-aged woman, stable job, married, solid finances, no debts. Every factor contradicted voluntary flight. The agency's first comprehensive assessment stated no financial transactions, no legal travel, no communications, no evidence of leaving residence. Case may involve crime, but lacks physical proof. Owen submitted this report to superiors with his personal note: probability victim alive after over 2 weeks is low. Continue investigating as possible murder and body concealment, while closely monitoring the husband. However, the lack of concrete evidence prevented the agency from taking stronger steps. In the file, the case was noted as expanding verification, with focus on further material analysis and awaiting technical test results. Though no breakthrough yet, Owen saw the connection between Charlotte's disappearance and the unusual details in the Reed home growing clearer. But at that point, he still had nothing sufficient to prove it. After nearly a month of investigation without obtaining specific evidence, the disappearance of Charlotte Reed began to enter a phase of deadlock. The material analysis results from the Reed home garage did not provide verifiable information about the pouring time, only showing that the cement had components similar to many common commercial types, rendering time comparison ineffective. No biological traces, no DNA, no fibers or blood marks. Checks on the victim's finances and movements also uncovered no unusual behavior. Every investigative direction seemed to have been exploited to its limit, but all ended in emptiness. Owen Price continued trying to review small details that might have been overlooked. He re-examined the parking attendant's statement, drew a diagram of the observation position, but the 15-minute hazy period in the witness's memory could not be corroborated with other data. Charlotte's colleagues, when questioned again, provided no new information. They only repeated that she was a private person, with no conflicts or special relationships beyond work and family. Local media reported briefly in the first few days, then quickly moved on to other cases. The community, which had once been abuzz, gradually forgot the unexplained disappearance of an ordinary bank employee. Within the police department, the case was assessed as lacking clear criminal elements. There was no basis to request additional search warrants or initiate criminal prosecution. All suspicions toward Darrell Reed remained at the level of professional intuition, unable to be converted into legal action. Owen tried to compile supplementary notes, proposing to check the basement of the pawn shop owned by Darrell. The reason he stated was to verify a location the victim may have visited, consistent with personal relationships and the suspect's workplace. However, the district prosecutor rejected this request on the grounds of lacking reasonable basis for issuing a search warrant. Requests based solely on speculation or subjective suspicion did not meet the legal requirements of the time. Owen was forced to accept the conclusion, insufficient evidence to continue expanding. By the end of the third quarter of 1982, the case was shelved in the category of unsolved files. The official status of the file was changed to unresolved. All minutes, physical evidence, scene photographs, and samples were sealed and stored in the Oklahoma City Police Department's archive warehouse. The summary report stated briefly: Victim, Charlotte Reed, disappeared for unknown reasons. No criminal elements detected. Insufficient basis for further investigation. Owen Price, though disagreeing with the decision, still had to follow procedure. He completed his final report, including a private note for the archive department. Note: check basement at Darrell Reed's business establishment if new developments or evidence arise. This small line was clipped to the end of the file folder, not reviewed further by anyone. Shortly afterward, Owen was transferred to the Financial Crime Investigation Unit. The new job removed him from the Civil Investigation Team, and the Charlotte Reed case became one of the unfinished files he could not close. As Owen left his old office, he carried a sense of incompleteness. In his mind, the image of the woman leaving the office at noon that day remained an unfillable void. No body, no crime scene, no explanation, just a disappearance gradually forgotten among hundreds of other files. By year-end, the police department's annual statistics recorded the Reed case as disappearance of unknown cause, survival probability undetermined. File box number 82-417 was placed on the storage shelf, labeled yellow for unresolved cases. Later, it was moved to the cold storage basement, along with similar files. When the hallway lights went out, only long rows of dust-covered document boxes remained, including a thin file bearing the name Charlotte Reed, the woman who vanished in the midday summer in Oklahoma City, with no one knowing what really happened. The case fell into silence, and that silence lasted longer than anyone could have imagined at the time. 5 years after Charlotte Reed disappeared, file number 82-417 lay undisturbed on the storage shelf, unmentioned by anyone. During that time, Darrell Reed continued operating his pawn shop on the west side of Oklahoma City. Business was smooth, with steady customers, gradually becoming one of the reputable stores in the area. He was known as a cautious businessman, sometimes strict, but always punctual and fair in transactions. In the spring of 1987, Darrell decided to expand the facility, obtaining permits to repair and renovate the back storage area of the shop. City Building Department records showed the project was legally registered, including plans to expand storage space and reinforce the floor. A local crew was hired, mostly acquaintances from business dealings. According to the contractor's statement, they were instructed to pour an additional nearly 10-centimeter thick cement layer over the entire warehouse area, sealing the old wall and leveling the entire floor surface. This was explained as necessary to increase load capacity for metal shelves and storage equipment. The work took 2 days, with all materials prepared in advance by Darrell, including some cement bags brought from his private stock. No one noticed anything suspicious. The shop owner was frequently present, supervising carefully, paying on time, and not allowing work after regulated hours. Upon completion, the old west wall was completely sealed, the new floor smooth and lighter in color than the rest. After inspection, the crew left, leaving a clean space with no unusual signs. All paperwork was properly signed, giving no reason for authorities to suspect or inspect further. The store continued normal operations, and Darrell quickly expanded into trading precious metals and antique watches. He appeared regularly at trade fairs, becoming a member of the local business association. In everyone's eyes, Darrell Reed was the model of someone who had overcome loss to continue living. In 1989, he remarried a widow named Linda Morgan, who had a young son. His new life was peaceful. The couple bought a suburban home in the south of the city, separate from the old neighborhood. Those who knew Charlotte from before gradually moved away or lost contact. When someone mentioned the disappearance, Darrell only responded briefly that it was in the past. The police department no longer monitored him. The case was officially closed with no reason to reinvestigate. The only documents related to Charlotte remained in the old archive warehouse among hundreds of other 1980s missing persons cases. Over time, those initially involved in the investigation transferred or retired. In the 1987 Civil Unit Summary Report, Charlotte Reed's name only appeared in the No Progress Cases list. The city was then facing many new incidents, rising crime, emerging economic cases, causing old files to fade into oblivion. The Reed's former home was sold to another family, unaware of the suspicions that once surrounded it. Darrell's pawn shop was renovated, the new warehouse floor making the space brighter, larger, and more convenient for display. Everything proceeded legally and logically, and no one who ever crossed that threshold imagined anything lay beneath the freshly leveled cement. Time continued to pass, blurring old memories. The disappearance of Charlotte Reed, which had drawn attention for a few short weeks, was now just a small line in the archive, a forgotten name among thick, dusty documents in the basement of the Oklahoma City Police Department. More than 20 years after Charlotte Reed vanished, the case was nearly erased from the memory of those who once knew of it. Oklahoma City had changed greatly. Old neighborhoods replaced by shopping centers, old buildings demolished for new constructions. But in the police department archive, 1,980 S-era file boxes remained stacked in the basement. In 2009, the city government approved an investigation modernization program, establishing the Cold Case Division, a unit dedicated to reviewing unsolved disappearances and murders. The goal was to apply modern investigative techniques and new DNA analysis technology to find answers for forgotten cases. In the division's first investigative team, Detective Maya Hensley, 36 years old, was assigned to handle 1980s missing persons cases. On that list, the Charlotte Reed case stood out not for severity, but for strangeness. The victim vanished in broad daylight, in a crowded downtown area, without a trace. Maya began rereading the entire original file. The pages were yellowed, typed text blurred in places, but all reports showed the meticulousness of the initial investigator, Owen Price. The file detailed every point: the victim's car, parking spot, witness statements, husband interrogation results, and financial reports. The more she read, the more Maya realized the case stalled, not due to lack of competence, but lack of tools and physical evidence. On the last page of the scene report, she saw a handwritten note, underlined in blue ink. New cement wall, not checked. That brief note made her pause longer than any other part. The line was in the appendix, below the Reed home garage description and the unapproved supplementary search proposal. Maya immediately cross-referenced other documents. According to the file, garage floor samples were taken, but no specific results. No one ever returned to verify this detail. She closed the file folder, noting in her personal log, need to locate private residence and Reed's pawn and loan. Recheck wall section. The next day, Maya contacted the department's HR office to determine Owen Price's current whereabouts. He had retired years earlier, living in the Edmond suburbs, about a half-hour drive from the city. She arranged an in-person interview. The conversation took place on a quiet afternoon. Owen, now in his 70s, still maintained the calm demeanor of a veteran investigator. Upon hearing Charlotte Reed's name, he paused, then nodded. I've been waiting many years for someone to reopen this file. Maya showed him a copy of the old note. Owen remembered clearly, during the house search, he noticed the garage cement section was different in color, with a fresh smell, but when proposing a search warrant, the prosecutor did not approve. He always believed that detail was important, just lacking basis to pursue further at the time. If you get the chance, he said, go back there, don't overlook it again. Those words strengthened Maya's resolve. Returning to headquarters, she compiled new data, maps of the old pawn shop location, 1987 building permits, and archived scene photos on microfilm. From this, she discovered Reed's pawn and loan still existed but had ceased operations in the early 2000s, now vacant and owned by a local real estate company. Land records showed the structure had not been demolished, only locked for years. Maya prepared a preliminary report for superiors, explaining the reason for re-examination. The existence of the unverified cement wall note, combined with the location's direct connection to the only suspect ever considered. She argued that with modern ground-penetrating radar, surveying the structure could be done without damaging it, while meeting civil search warrant conditions. Her proposal attached the full Reed file along with Owen Price's confirmation, the original lead investigator, that this detail was never checked. By late April 2009, the Cold Case Unit officially approved Maya's request and forwarded the file to the district court for a search warrant on the old shop premises. In the accompanying memo, Maya wrote a short paragraph summarizing why the case still merited investigation. No evidence victim left the city. No physical traces proving life after disappearance date. Pawn shop location is the final unclarified link in the entire file. The warrant was reviewed within 2 weeks. When the red approved stamp was placed on the documents, Maya marked that date in her work log. After more than 20 years, the Charlotte Reed disappearance was officially restarted, and the first location she chose to revisit was the place once belonging to the man police could not charge in 1982. In March 2010, nearly a year after the search warrant was approved, the on-site inspection at Reed's Pawn and Loan officially began. The building was on an old, sparsely trafficked road on the west side of Oklahoma City, with a deteriorated facade and rusted iron door. Inside, thick dust-covered shelves, the floor and old hanging advertising signs. Police cordoned off the area, set up temporary lighting, and began surveying. Maya Hensley directly oversaw the entire process. Her target was the basement, where the 1982 file noted new cement wall, not checked. The forensic technical team brought ground-penetrating radar equipment, technology allowing detection of foreign objects or voids in concrete structures without demolition. Scanning proceeded square meter by square meter. The screen displayed return waves in gray scales, indicating material density. Most of the basement wall yielded uniform results, except a narrow section on the west side, where waves returned slower, forming a distinct dark patch. Technicians precisely measured the position, about 1.20 meters above the floor. nearly 80 centimeters wide. GPR data was recorded 3 times for confirmation. The preliminary report indicated possible metal object or void behind the wall. Maya requested the specialized demolition team open that wall section using controlled methods, cutting along mortar joints to minimize damage. When the cement slab was removed, a narrow void appeared behind it, sufficient to hold a box-shaped object. Under the lights, they saw a rusted metal box, thickly covered in dust. The lid was stuck tight, requiring specialized tools to separate. Inside, old paper was yellowed, mixed with small items. Forensic personnel placed all evidence on stainless steel trays, documenting each detail before sealing. Inside the box were 3 prominent items: an old photo, a silver chain necklace, and a paper folded in half. The photo was faded, showing a woman standing next to an old sedan, with the Reed's pawn and loan sign in the background. The silver chain was thin, 1980s style, with a round pendant engraved with simple patterns. The folded paper was opened with specialized clips. On it was handwritten text in black ink: "To-do list, clean storage, 2/15." The paper's corner had a dark brown stain, irregular and blotchy. The naked eye could not determine if it was dirt or old blood. Maya immediately requested scene photography, evidence numbering, and sent the entire contents to the state crime lab for biological analysis. The metal box and its contents were sealed per protocol, transported in airtight containers. In the on-site report, Maya described the condition in detail. Metal box size 25 by 18 centimeters, located in west basement concrete wall niche. Sealed with new cement mortar mix. Contains personal items, handwritten paper, and metal object. No chemical or combustion odors detected. After collection, the forensic team scanned the entire basement again. No additional voids were found, but surface wall analysis showed the cement around the niche was poured at a different time from the main wall. Uneven wear and color. This reinforced the conclusion that the section was sealed after the original construction. The rest of the storage area was checked to modern standards: dust sweeping, soil and air sampling, recording chemical or old construction material odors. All samples were sent for analysis, but the paper stain was most critical. While awaiting lab results, Maya researched the box's origin. This type was commonly used for cash or important documents, widely sold in hardware stores in the 1970s. What caught her attention was preservation, heavily rusted outside but relatively intact inside, indicating long-term sealing in a dry environment without direct water contact. That meant it was placed in its current position for an extended period. She also requested handwriting sample comparison. In the old Charlotte Reed file, many documents had Darrell Reed's signatures and notes, including business invoices and interrogation minutes. Forensic comparison would help determine if the box paper was linked to him. Simultaneously, the technical team closely examined the basement remainder. During collection, they noted a second cement layer parallel to the old floor, indicating renovation. Data matched the 1987 building records when Darrell expanded the shop. Broken brick fragments, cement mortar, and cut wall sections were all sealed, as they might contain fibers or invisible biological traces. When the inspection concluded, Maya and the technical team left the building at dusk. In the end-of-day report, she stated clearly, "Abnormal wall niche discovered in basement. Contains evidence related to 1982 disappearance. Collected and sent for DNA testing." The report was urgently forwarded to the Cold Case Unit commander, along with all images, diagrams, and GPR results. With the first discovery, after nearly 3 decades, the Charlotte Reed case officially showed signs of progress, a small piece of evidence, but enough to reopen the question Oklahoma City had forgotten for nearly 30 years. The report from the Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigation Lab was returned in mid-June 2010, marking the first turning point in the Charlotte Reed file. The forensic analysis determined that the brown stain sample on the paper recovered from the metal box was a biological trace containing human DNA. Genetic sequence analysis compared with Charlotte's old biological data, extracted from dental cell samples, stored in her 1981 private clinic medical records, yielded a complete match. The conclusion was clearly stated: human DNA on the paper sample corresponds to Charlotte Reed's DNA, with random match probability less than 1 in a million. Simultaneously, handwriting examination conducted by the Criminal Technical Division confirmed that the script on the line to-do list, clean storage, 2/15, matched characteristics of Darrell Reed's handwriting. Taken from archived documents, including 1982 business invoices and interrogation minutes, experts pointed out 3 similarities: letter slant, distinctive shapes of T and D characters, and non-fully connected letter linking. The report concluded, probability of same author exceeds 95%. When combined, these 2 forensic results completely changed the case's nature. Maya Hensley, the file's lead, immediately convened an internal meeting with the Cold Case Unit Command and the district prosecutor's representative. In the meeting, she presented the full chain of events: wall niche discovery, evidence recovery, DNA results, and handwriting analysis. She emphasized that the paper containing the victim's DNA and the husband's handwriting was the first direct link between Charlotte and Darrell since her disappearance. Additionally, the discovery location, in the basement wall niche of the pawn shop formerly owned by Darrell, strengthened suspicion that this site was connected to the crime. The prosecutor agreed the case was no longer a routine missing person, but had criminal grounds. That same day, an expanded search warrant was submitted to Oklahoma County Court, authorizing a full search of the basement area, floor, and west wall of the Reed's Pawn and Loan Building, along with adjacent land. Maya drafted the urgent request, arguing that existing physical evidence and scientific analysis indicate the likelihood that victim Charlotte Reed was murdered, and crime traces may be within the building structure. The warrant was signed and returned within 48 hours. Before execution, she reviewed the 1982 original file to ensure no details were missed. In Owen Price's report, she found a line now seen as an accurate prediction: new cement wall, not checked. DNA verification transformed that note from suspicion to evidence. Maya contacted Owen again, informing him of the results and thanking him for the detail. In her work log, she wrote, "After 28 years, we have the first evidence proving the victim's presence here." Concurrently, the Cold Case Unit coordinated with the Forensic Division to plan site exploitation in 3 phases: floor radar scanning to identify anomalous areas, specialized probe drilling, and controlled excavation if suspicious results emerged. Expanding the investigation also entailed case reclassification. The missing person case 82-417 file was officially transferred to the homicide investigation category. The internal notice stated, Charlotte Reed case, file status change. Basis, matching DNA results, and handwriting evidence linked to suspect Darrell Reed. Reclassification meant restarting the full legal process, expanded investigative authority, restored evidence collection and interrogation rights. Maya and the forensic technical team were authorized to conduct all necessary activities within the old building. From a forgotten disappearance, the file now carried the nature of a bodiless murder case. In the report to the Cold Case Unit Director, Maya summarized key elements: 1. Paper with victim's DNA and suspect's handwriting. 2. Evidence found in a structure formerly owned by the husband. 3. Wall cement ceiling timing consistent with the victim's disappearance period. All these details, when connected, formed a solid basis for continuing investigation in the direction of body concealment crime. She also proposed prioritizing the case due to operational value and high closure potential. On June 21, 2010, the Oklahoma City Police Department issued the final internal notice to the entire investigative division, Case 82-417, reclassified homicide, lead detective, M. Hensley. That brief notice closed nearly 3 decades of neglect for a disappearance while opening a new investigative path. In the cold case archive, the box labeled Charlotte Reed was pulled from the shelf, relabeled Red Active. On Maya's desk, Owen Price's old file sat beside the newly printed DNA results. Two eras, two investigative generations, now linked by a small stain on paper hidden for nearly 30 years. At the end of June 2010, the Oklahoma City Police Department forensic team began the basement floor excavation phase at Reed's Pawn and Loan. This was the area Darrell Reed had additional cement poured during the 1987 renovation, details appearing in old building records. Maya Hensley oversaw the scene, working with technicians following standard state Justice Department procedures. Before construction, the floor was scanned a second time with ground-penetrating radar to confirm anomalies. Scan results displayed a differential reflection band, located about 30 to 40 centimeters below the new floor layer, running parallel to the west wall, exactly the area where the metal box containing wall section was previously discovered. The forensic team marked a nearly 2 square meter suspicious zone, using concrete saws to separate the floor layer, avoiding damage to objects below. Each concrete slab was cut into small sections, coded, photographed, and noted for thickness and color. When the first slab was lifted, a damp smell and old soil escaped, mixed with broken plastic fragments and cement dust. By the afternoon of the second day, the excavation team discovered a soft, gray-black object buried under compressed soil, the top of a large industrial nylon bag. The bag was carefully extracted, containing multiple tightly wrapped nylon layers sealed with old deteriorated tape. The forensic team halted all operations to execute scene sealing protocol. The bag section was placed on sterile cloth, opened under controlled lighting. As soon as the outermost nylon layer was removed, a human skeletal structure was clearly visible. Long bones, relatively intact pelvis and skull, but many sections decomposed over time. The technical team used soft brushes to remove surrounding soil and collected the entire object in the bag. In remaining nylon layers, they found several light-colored fabric pieces, a metal shirt button, and a small silver ring stuck between finger bone joints. The ring was engraved T&D, 1974. Maya observed nearby, knowing 1974 was the year Charlotte and Darrell married, details in the original file. The entire nylon bag and samples were placed in stainless steel containers, coated, and transported to the State Forensic Examination Lab under district prosecutor supervision. Simultaneously, the excavation pit area was expanded 0.5 meters in each direction to search for related traces. The technical team collected additional fabric and nylon fiber pieces, along with small objects resembling industrial wrapping plastic. No other bone structures were found. The entire area was cleaned and preservation molded for future stratigraphic analysis. Preliminary forensic examination results were returned after 4 days. The report identified remains as female, estimated age 30-35, compatible with Charlotte Reed's profile in 1982. Rib and hyoid bone examination showed characteristic fractures from manual strangulation. No sharp object injuries or bullet marks. Tissue decomposition and bone mineralization levels consistent with over 20 years of burial. The examiner noted in the conclusion, cause of death, mechanical asphyxia by manual strangulation, manner of death, homicide. Regarding evidence, the silver ring was cleaned and imaged in high resolution. The inner engraving K and D, 1974, in italic script, matched common 1970s wedding ring styles. Charlotte's family later confirmed the engraving matched her wedding ring, ordered from an Oklahoma City jewelry store in 1974. Bone samples were sent for mitochondrial DNA analysis and compared with Charlotte's stored dental biological samples. Results were a complete match, confirming victim identity. In the internal announcement sent July 5, 2010, the Oklahoma City Police Department stated, remains recovered at Reed's Pawn and Loan, identified as Charlotte Reed female, 30 years old at disappearance. Cause of death, strangulation. Time of death consistent with recorded 1982 disappearance date. After nearly 3 decades, the disappearance was officially determined a murder. Maya completed the scene report, detailing each excavation phase, images, evidence, and examination results. In the conclusion, she wrote, "Body found under additional cement layer poured in 1987, directly linked to expansion work by Darrell Reed. Physical evidence confirms this location as victim concealment site post-death." Along with the forensic report, scene photos were attached for the district prosecutor to open criminal proceedings. The building basement was resealed, no longer just an excavation site, but now evidence of a crime concealed for nearly 30 years. Immediately after forensic results confirmed the remains as Charlotte Reed's, Maya Hensley began systematizing all physical evidence and related documents. Her goal was to reconstruct Darrell Reed's actions post-disappearance and establish the link between the 1987 floor pouring and body concealment. The first step was reviewing Oklahoma City building records, focusing on repair and renovation permits for Reed's pawn and loan. In the building department archive, Maya found the repair permit issued April 3, 1987, attached to an invoice from local supplier Redland Concrete Supply. The invoice copy listed items: Portland cement, sand, gravel, and mixing tools. The signature in the bottom right corner was D. Reed, handwritten. Notably, the buyer's note, "Re-floor, West Storage Section." This note exactly matched the area where remains were found during excavation. Maya requested digitization for signature comparison with old file samples. Forensic results confirmed the invoice signature completely matched Darrell Reed's in 1980-1990 business documents. This proved he personally ordered materials, not through employees or intermediaries. The delivery order copy also noted transport date April 6, 1987. 3 days after ordering, consistent with crew statements in construction records, completion in 2 days, April 6, 7. Timing and location alignment led Maya to conclude Darrell actively poured the floor over the exact remains area, and at that time, he alone controlled the site. She expanded checks to other administrative documents, including shop accounting books and tax permits. 1987 transactions showed temporary revenue decline in the 2 months around repairs, indicating shop closure for construction. After completion, revenue normalized, with no other maintenance expenses. Everything was legal and procedural, but that legality revealed the perpetrator's calculation level. He not only concealed the body, but built an administrative facade to cover his actions. From collected documents, Maya created a timeline diagram: 1982, victim disappearance; 1983, 1986, normal shop operations, no repairs; 1987, West Storage floor pouring; 1990, shop sale and state departure. Presenting this diagram in the command meeting, she pointed to the 1987 marker and said, "This is the connection between disappearance and crime." To further strengthen, she compared basement cement samples with Redland Concrete Supply materials. Technical report confirmed identical chemical properties. Portland cement produced at Redland plant only from March to June 1987. This meant the floor pouring material was indeed Darrell's purchased batch. The physical and documentary evidence chain was now closed. Order, signature, materials, location, forensic results. Scattered pieces over 30 years linked into a complete picture. Maya compiled all data into a 32-page report, attaching scene photos, DNA results, original invoice, GPR diagrams, and crew statements. The report was submitted to Oklahoma County District Prosecutor with a request to indict Darrell Reed for first-degree murder. The prosecutor meeting lasted many hours. The prosecution representative reviewed each document, especially the cement invoice and specific West Storage Section location. In their view, this was evidence of intentional, planned, long-term crime concealment. The new floor was not just renovation but to destroy physical traces, stalling the case for nearly 3 decades. By meeting's end, the prosecutor signed the request for a nationwide arrest warrant for Darrell Reed, believed to have left Oklahoma in the early 1990s with unknown whereabouts. The warrant listed preliminary charges: murder in the first degree and tampering with evidence per Oklahoma Criminal Code. His name, description and photos were updated in the national NCIC system. That day, Maya sent official notices to regional FBI offices and neighboring state law enforcement for coordination in locating him. On her desk, the Charlotte Reed file was stamped red active investigation. Homicide case. Beside the new report was the 1987 invoice, an ordinary administrative paper now key evidence proving a meticulously concealed crime for over 20 years. After the nationwide arrest warrant was issued, Maya Hensley's next task was to determine Darrell Reed's current residence. Archived data showed he left Oklahoma in 1990, shortly after selling the pawn shop. Tax and business license records from that time indicated Darrell transferred ownership to an anonymous buyer, then severed all financial ties in the state. No information existed on his official relocation, but the federal tax office archived a file matching the same Social Security number under the new name Daniel Marks, registered as a permanent resident in Tucson, Arizona, in 1993. The number matched Darrell's previous one exactly, differing only in last name and birth year altered by 2 years. Maya sent a coordination request to the FBI's Phoenix Regional Office to retrieve Daniel Marks' personal information. The system showed he owned a small antique shop in northern Tucson suburbs, lived with his second wife, Linda, and had no criminal record. He declared his occupation as independent merchant, with stable income and full tax compliance. From housing registration records, police confirmed he purchased a single-story home, nearly 200 square meters in 1998, solely in his name. Neighbors described the man as quiet, polite, minimally social, but very punctual. All matched Darrell Reed's characteristics in the old file. To avoid attention, the FBI conducted covert surveillance for weeks, collecting household trash and monitoring movement patterns. Agents noted he often drove a silver pickup truck, left for work each morning, returned at fixed times, with no unusual behavior. The first trash sample sent to the lab contained a medical cotton swab with dried blood and a disposable plastic cup. DNA analysis on these items yielded complete results, genetic sequence matching the biological sample from the metal box found in the old Oklahoma shop basement. Results confirmed Daniel Marks and Darrell Reed were the same person. The report was forwarded to the cold case unit with the lab's note, 100% match. Error probability, less than 1/10 circumflex 9. With irrefutable evidence, Maya and the district prosecutor finalized the arrest request file, including the full document chain, 1987, cement purchase invoice, DNA results, scene photos, and initial warrant. Before sending the order, she requested the FBI continue monitoring the subject to confirm daily routines and ensure safe arrest. Additional FBI surveillance reports showed Darrell was usually home Saturday mornings, grocery shopping with his wife, and spent most weekends in the garage, working on vehicles. His house was at the end of a dead-end street, isolated from the main neighborhood, ideal for a low-profile arrest. On March 5, 2011, the FBI officially confirmed the suspect's location and sent a subject-located notice to the Oklahoma City Police Department. Maya received the news during her morning shift, immediately arranging a meeting with case agents. She requested a coordinated arrest procedure, ensuring seizure of all personal devices and computers, plus additional biological samples for verification. Before execution, the FBI rechecked his credit card transactions from the past year. Data showed multiple small purchases at building supply stores and chemical dealers, including an industrial cleaner invoice, insufficient for charges, but indicating ongoing control and cleaning habits. Additionally, his tax records and bank accounts were legal, with no flight indicators. With all verified data, the Oklahoma County prosecutor signed final confirmation on the federal arrest warrant. The warrant listed charges: first-degree murder, body concealment, and federal tax record falsification via identity change. Execution was scheduled for early March. At the office, Maya completed the final pre-transfer report to the federal coordination team. In the remarks section, she wrote, "Subject created a legal facade for over 20 years by changing identity, relocating states, and integrating into the community. Current DNA evidence proves direct link to the old scene. Recommend controlled arrest, evidence seizure, and immediate interrogation post-extradition to Oklahoma. When the file was closed, Maya looked at the evidence list: metal box, handwritten paper, ring, cement invoice, and DNA chain matching Daniel Marks. Each small piece, seemingly disconnected over 3 decades, now formed a complete logical chain. Beneath the dry document lines was a clear reality. The man once seen as Charlotte Reed's husband, whom the 1982 file could not charge, was now identified and about to face the most serious criminal charges in Oklahoma's legal system. Early morning on March 12, 2011, after weeks of covert surveillance, a joint FBI and Oklahoma City Police task force executed the arrest of Darrell Reed, then living under the alias Daniel Marks, in a quiet northern Tucson, Arizona suburb. The operation was timed for 6 a.m. when the neighborhood was still empty. 2 agent vehicles blocked both ends of the dead-end street leading to the suspect's home, while another team approached the back door. The federal arrest warrant, issued by Oklahoma County Court, was read over radio before entry. When agents knocked and identified themselves, Darrell opened the door, still in sleepwear, appearing surprised but not reacting strongly. He made no attempt to flee or resist, only asking, "What is this about?" An agent presented the warrant and informed him of the charges: first-degree murder, body concealment, unlawful identity change. His wife, Linda Marks, stood at the back door, terrified, and was safely removed while law enforcement conducted the search. The arrest proceeded quickly and orderly. He was handcuffed, read his Miranda rights, and placed in the vehicle in under 10 minutes. During the house search, investigators seized personal documents, a desktop computer, portable hard drives, and several old notebooks stacked in a wooden cabinet in the office. One worn brown leather-bound notebook contained scattered notes in blue ink. Midway through, investigators found a short line, "Lunch clean after." The phrase was written in handwriting identical to Darrell's old document samples and drew special attention for matching 2 key case elements: lunch, the time Charlotte vanished, and clean, the verb from the to-do list paper in the metal box. The notebook was sealed as evidence and sent immediately to the technical lab for handwriting and chemical trace analysis. Additionally, police found multiple identification documents under Daniel Marks' driver's license, social security card, tax returns, and bank accounts. All were legal, issued post-1993, showing he had built a complete new identity and lived openly for years undetected. As he was led to the vehicle, he remained silent, face calm, neither reacting nor requesting counsel. In the scene report, the lead agent noted, "Subject cooperative, no resistance, cold demeanor, asked only once, 'Who told you I was here?'" Initial interrogation was conducted at the Tucson FBI regional office. He confirmed his true identity as Darrell Reed, born 1949, but denied all charges. When asked about the handwritten paper and leather notebook, he replied, "I don't remember writing anything." After a 2-hour preliminary interview, Darrell was held at the Federal Detention Center in Tucson pending extradition. During this time, the Oklahoma City legal team finalized transfer documents, including all identity matching proof, social security records, DNA results, material invoices, and forensic reports. On March 17, the Arizona Federal Court approved the extradition request. 2 Oklahoma City police officers were dispatched to escort the suspect back to Oklahoma by air. The special flight departed the morning of March 19, accompanied by 2 FBI agents. At Will Rogers Airport in Oklahoma City, Darrell was received and transferred directly to the Oklahoma County Detention Center, where he would remain until trial. All seized evidence from the home, especially the notebook with lunch clean after, was sent to the state forensic lab for comparison. Preliminary reports confirmed handwriting matched Darrell Reed's original file samples, further strengthening the evidence chain. Immediately after transfer, Maya Hensley completed the arrest minutes, summarizing investigative steps from DNA results, invoice discovery, to new identity tracing. The report was sent to the district prosecutor and court for upcoming trial preparation. After nearly 3 decades, the man once the sole witness in Charlotte Reed's disappearance was officially arrested and returned to Oklahoma, where the story began. In the internal arrest operation closure report, Maya noted briefly, subject identified, safely arrested, and extradited to state. Charlotte Reed case advances to prosecution preparation phase. A no-bail detention order was issued the same day, ending a nearly 30-year pursuit and opening a new chapter for the case once buried under cold cement in a small Oklahoma City shop. After extradition to Oklahoma, Darrell Reed was held in isolation at the Oklahoma County Detention Center. On March 22, 2011, the first formal interrogation was conducted under District Prosecutor and Lead Investigator Maya Hensley's supervision. The interview room was set up with full audio and video recording, with court-appointed counsel present. At the session's start, Maya presented the suspect's legal rights and laid out existing evidence, DNA analysis results, 1987, cement purchase invoice, to-do list paper from the metal box, and forensic report confirming death by strangulation. For the first 20 minutes, Darrell remained silent, staring straight ahead. When Maya asked about the last time he saw Charlotte, he responded in a low but firm voice. "I already said, it was an accident. She lost her balance." The statement paused the room for seconds. Maya requested clarification. Darrell said that day, Charlotte came to his shop to discuss divorce. They argued intensely in the back storage area, then she slipped, fell, hit her head on the wall. He claimed he tried to wake her, but got no response. "I panicked," he said. "I didn't know what to do." He recounted keeping the body overnight in the garage, then wrapping it in nylon, and temporarily hiding it in the shop basement. Months later, when no one found it, he poured new flooring to bury everything. This statement was seen as indirect admission, but Maya quickly noted serious inconsistencies. She presented the forensic report showing the victim's hyoid bone and laryngeal cartilage fractured by strong two-handed pressure, typical of manual strangulation, impossible from a fall or impact. Upon hearing this, Darrell fell silent for a long time. Hands clasped, eyes evasive. Maya pressed, "If it was an accident, why hide the body and pour cement over it? Why the clean storage line in your handwriting?" Darrell only replied, "I don't remember. I just wanted to bury it." When asked about the wedding ring engraved Th and D, 1974, he looked down at the table and said softly, "I didn't think they'd still have it." That vague response, though not direct confession, was recorded as acknowledgement. The found remains were his wife. The prosecutor interjected, "Did you try calling emergency services? Did you seek help?" Darrell shook his head. "No, it happened fast. She got angry. I lost control. I didn't mean to hurt her." When Maya showed the scene photo, the metal box with Charlotte's DNA paper, he glanced at it then turned away. She continued, "The to-do list, clean storage, 2/15. Do you remember that date? June 15, 1982, the day Charlotte disappeared." He sighed, a faint smile appearing, but no answer. Investigators noted this reaction as cognitive awareness, no denial. Throughout the over 3-hour interrogation, he never requested a stop, only occasionally asking for water. At the end, when Maya asked, "Do you know concealing a body and falsifying identity are serious crimes, punishable by life or death?" Darrell looked at her, voice hoarse. "I know, I've known for a long time, but when she fell, everything in me died too." This statement was seen as the only indirect confession he offered. All statements were recorded, transcribed, and signed with counsel present. In the interrogation report, Maya wrote, "Suspect admits presence with victim at shop on disappearance day, admits body handling and cement pouring. Statement, contradicts forensic results. Possible intentional minimization. Conclusion. Statement, valuable as indirect admission." After completing minutes, he was returned to isolation. While escorted, Darrell said one short sentence to the duty officer, 30 years, and they still found it. At the cold case office, Maya and the technical team reviewed the full evidence chain for prosecutor handover. The file exceeded 200 pages, including all physical evidence, scene photos, DNA reports, financial results, material invoices, and suspect statements. In the final summary to the Oklahoma County Prosecutor's Office, Maya wrote, "Physical evidence, documents and statements prove intentional crime, concealed via 1987 renovation plan. Investigation conclusion, homicide. Perpetrator, Darrell Reed." That day, the file was officially transferred to the prosecuting attorney. In the final appendix, Maya attached a transcript excerpt from the interrogation recording, "I didn't mean to hurt her. But when she fell, everything in me died too." That was the only sentence, both acknowledging guilt and marking the end of over 28 years of silence surrounding the Charlotte Reed case. The woman who lost her life at the hands of the husband the law once could not charge. After receiving the complete case file from the investigation team, the Oklahoma County Prosecutor's Office requested that the cold case unit coordinate with the forensic and criminal technical departments to reconstruct the entire sequence of events in the Charlotte Reed case, to serve the prosecution process in court. Maya Hensley was responsible for compiling and establishing the timeline of events based on the investigation results, the suspect's statements, and the physical evidence collected. In a comprehensive report exceeding 40 pages, she detailed the crime process from the morning of June 15, 1982. The day Charlotte disappeared until the body was discovered nearly 30 years later. According to the investigation conclusions, that morning, Charlotte arrived at the bank office for work as usual. Shortly before lunch break, she informed a colleague that she would meet her husband to talk one last time about separation and asset division. Data from statements and details in the file confirmed that she left the bank alone, carrying a small handbag, walking through the parking lot to the Penn Square commercial area where Darrell Reed owned Reed's Pawn and Loan, just a few blocks away. The parking attendant saw her standing and talking to a man in a gray suit, now identified as Darrell. The two then went to the back area of the store, where there were no glass doors or public exits. Based on forensic results, experts determined that between 12 p.m. and 1 p.m. a scuffle occurred between them. Fractures in the hyoid bone and laryngeal cartilage indicated that Charlotte was strangled with both hands, with strong force sufficient to cause death within minutes. There were no signs of significant resistance, explained by the element of surprise and physical disparity. After the victim died, Darrell moved the body to the west storage area of the store, a rarely visited section. The stratigraphic analysis report from the 2010 excavation showed that the soil in this area was compacted and had traces of industrial nylon bags, the same type found wrapped around the remains. This proved that the body was placed in a nylon bag and temporarily buried right in the storage wall. From then on, Darrell continued working normally, did not leave the city, and showed no unusual signs. When police investigated the disappearance, he gave a normal statement, and there was no evidence against him. Burying the body in his private property helped him evade all suspicion. In 1987, when business was thriving, Darrell decided to expand and legalize the area containing the body by applying for storage renovation. Construction records and material purchase invoices confirmed that he personally signed and designated the west storage section, where the body was discovered, as the area needing a new floor pour. The technical report indicated that the additional cement layer completely covered the old wall structure, sealing the body's position, isolating nearly all biological traces. Experts concluded that this renovation was a deliberate act to destroy evidence. Based on accounting documents, Darrell paid the workers in cash, leaving no detailed receipts, and was present throughout the construction process. After the floor was completed, he continued using the store for a few more years before selling it and leaving Oklahoma. During that time, he created a legal facade, lived as a normal man, remarried, and changed his identity to Daniel Marks in Arizona. The comprehensive report described the crime sequence in two main parts: crime progression and concealment chain. The first part determined that the crime occurred between 12:15 p.m. and 12:45 p.m. on June 15, 1982. The second part described the process of burying the body and erasing traces spanning from 1982 to 1987. Maya and the criminal technical team also reconstructed a 3D model of the basement crime scene based on excavation data. The model clearly showed the body's position, distance to the wall, soil layers, and subsequent concrete pour. On the simulation screen, the wall niche containing the metal box was less than half a meter from the burial site, indicating that Darrell placed the box as part of a cover layer to check wall stability after cementing. In the report submitted to the prosecutor, Maya wrote, "The chain of evidence proves planned behavior, not an impulsive reaction. Hiding the body, renovating the structure, and changing identity demonstrate clear intent to evade the law. All data, from financial records, forensic results, DNA, physical evidence, to statements, were attached to a timeline spanning nearly 3 decades, clearly recreating the case journey from when Charlotte left the office until the body was found." When the complete report was submitted, the Oklahoma County Chief Prosecutor concluded, "The evidence is sufficient to prove that Darrell Reed intentionally murdered, planned concealment, and evaded responsibility for a long period. The reconstructed event sequence is consistent and matches all scene data." The case file was marked complete for trial submission, ending the investigation phase and preparing for the official criminal trial process, where what happened during the sunny noon of June 1982 would be recreated in court for the first time after nearly 30 years. The trial of State of Oklahoma versus Darrell Reed began on October 17, 2011, at the Oklahoma County District Court. The large courtroom was packed with reporters, Charlotte's former colleagues, and those who participated in the initial 1982 investigation. It was one of the most high-profile cases that year. A murder concealed for nearly 30 years, only solved thanks to modern forensic technology. Chief Prosecutor Miriam Caldwell, representing the state of Oklahoma, handled the accusation. The court-appointed defense attorney for the defendant was James Porter, experienced in long-standing cases, but who admitted that he had never seen a file existing for nearly 3 decades still so full of evidence. The trial opened with the prosecution reading the indictment. Defendant Darrell Reed, born 1949, is charged with first-degree murder, intentionally taking the life of his wife, Charlotte Reed, on June 15, 1982, in Oklahoma City. Subsequently, the defendant engaged in concealing the body, destroying evidence, and changing identity to evade criminal responsibility. Darrell sat still, wearing a white shirt, no handcuffs, eyes calm. When asked for his plea, he simply replied, "Not guilty." The prosecution began presentation by recounting the entire timeline of the case, using images, 3D models, and technical data collected during the investigation. The large screen in the courtroom displayed images of the Reed's pawn and loan basement with cross-sections of concrete layers, showing the wall niche, metal box, and body discovery area. Forensic expert Dr. Helen Morris was called as an expert witness, presenting autopsy results. Injuries to the hyoid bone and laryngeal cartilage indicate the victim died from manual strangulation, not an accident. The fracture degree and uniform damage match strong force applied from the front. Prosecutor Caldwell continued presenting physical evidence, photographs, silver necklace, the to-do list, with the note clean storage, 2/15, and the 1987 cement purchase invoice, signed D. Reed. Each exhibit was sealed, shown in close-up images, and compared with appraisal samples. The DNA report was read in court. The stain on the paper contains DNA from victim Charlotte Reed. The handwriting matches samples from defendant Darrell Reed. When reaching the concealment process, the prosecution showed simulated images of the 1987 concrete pouring, compared with construction records. The note "Re-floor, West Storage Section" was enlarged, marking the position matching the remains discovery site. The defendant not only killed, Caldwell said, but spent 5 years planning to conceal that act through legal administrative procedures. The jury sat in silence, some bowing their heads when viewing excavation scene photos. Defense attorney James Porter countered that the evidence was only circumstantial, that the incident could be an unintentional accident, and Darrell acted in panic. He emphasized his client's statement, "She fell, and he didn't know what to do." However, when the prosecution rebutted with forensic data, pointing out the strangulation force, death time, and inconsistency of accident, the defense argument quickly weakened. Another expert, Dr. Samuel Park, presented that neck injuries indicate the victim was strangled strongly for at least 30 seconds, impossible as an unintentional reflex. The second part of the trial focused on concealment behavior. The criminal technical team presented cement analysis results, perfectly matching the type Darrell bought in 1987. They showed photos of the invoice with genuine signature, along with handwriting appraisal records. Prosecutor concluded, no one else but the defendant could plan purchase materials, supervise construction, and seal his wife's body in his own store. The final witness section was reserved for former investigator Owen Price, who noted new cement wall, not checked in the 1982 file. He appeared in court with white hair, voice calm but firm. "If we had today's technology back then, Charlotte would have been found sooner. I always believed he was responsible." Owen's appearance silenced the courtroom. Maya Hensley, sitting in the back row, quietly bowed her head. When it was Darrell's turn to testify, he continued insisting it was an accident. But when the prosecution asked, if it was an accident, why did you change your name and leave the state? He did not answer. That silence lasted nearly a minute, then he said softly, "I didn't want to lose everything. I was scared." This statement was recorded in the minutes, and the prosecution immediately ended cross-examination. On November 2, 2011, the jury retired to deliberate after hearing all testimonies, forensic reports, and closing arguments from both sides. They took less than 4 hours to reach a verdict. When the foreman read the decision, the jury unanimously finds defendant Darrell Reed guilty of first-degree murder. The courtroom atmosphere was heavy. Some of Charlotte's relatives burst into tears. Maya looked toward the defendant. He sat motionless, eyes blank. The trial proceeded to sentencing. Prosecutor Caldwell requested the maximum sentence, life imprisonment without parole, citing the crime was premeditated, with decades-long planned concealment, only discovered thanks to modern forensic technology. The defense attorney did not argue further, only requesting the court consider age circumstances and time passed. On November 4, 2011, the Oklahoma County District Court sentenced Darrell Reed to life imprisonment without possibility of parole. When the sentence was read, he turned to his attorney, nodded slightly, then quietly bowed his head. The judge concluded the trial with brief words, "Justice was delayed, but not forgotten." The gavel sounded, closing the case once buried under thick layers of time's cement, and restoring justice's voice for the woman who disappeared from Oklahoma City nearly 30 years earlier. After the trial ended, and the sentence took effect, the Oklahoma City Police Department and Cold Case Division compiled a summary report on the Charlotte Reed case, one of the longest-standing files ever solved in the state's investigation history. The summary exceeded 50 pages, detailing the entire process from the 1982 disappearance report to the 2011 sentencing, while analyzing reasons for the initial deadlock and technical advances that helped solve it. The report opened with the assessment, "The Charlotte Reed case exemplifies the gap between 1980s investigation capabilities and 21st century forensic technology. The combination of meticulously archived files and modern techniques revived a case thought forever buried." The first part of the report analyzed initial deadlock causes. In 1982, Oklahoma City lacked security surveillance systems or DNA databases. Searches relied entirely on witnesses and physical scene traces. In the Charlotte Reed case, the initial scenes, the car in the parking lot and victim's home, showed no struggle signs, preventing police from obtaining expanded search warrants. The biggest procedural error was not being allowed to inspect the Reed's pawn and loan basement, despite investigator Owen Price's detailed note, "New cement wall, not checked." However, at that time, obtaining a search warrant based on subjective suspicion was infeasible. Lacking physical evidence, and technical tools, the case was classified as no determinable criminal act. Investigator Price left his position, and the file was archived for nearly 3 decades. The second part of the report highlighted technological advances that reopened the case. First was ground-penetrating radar, allowing detection of anomalies or voids in concrete structures without demolition. Thanks to GPR, the 2010 cold case unit discovered the west basement wall niche containing the metal box and later the body concealment area. This technology did not exist in the 1980s and was a breakthrough in surveying old scenes. Next was trace DNA analysis, enabling separation and amplification of gene sequences from tiny samples, in this case, the stain on paper stored in the metal box. The DNA matched Charlotte's 1981 dental records in medical files, proving the victim's presence at the sealed location. This was key evidence for obtaining expanded search warrants and subsequent basement excavation. The third critical technology was digital handwriting analysis, using character comparison software for stroke recognition. With this tool, the technical team confirmed the to-do list, clean storage. 2/15 was written by Darrell Reed himself, strengthening the direct link between suspect and evidence. Combining forensic, technical, and administrative data created a closed evidence chain from paper sample, handwriting, DNA to material invoices, and pouring timeline. The report also acknowledged the crucial role of file archiving. Without investigator Owen Price's handwritten notes, especially new cement wall, not checked, the 2009 cold case unit would lack specific direction to restart the case. Preserving intact exhibits, photos, and original records also ensured consistency when cross-referencing with modern technology. In the comments section, Maya Hensley wrote, "No technology can replace careful documentation. The handwritten lines of an investigator 30 years ago became vital clues for today's justice." The final part of the report outlined professional lessons for current investigative agencies. First, every unexplained disappearance must be handled with a criminological mindset, even if there are initially no signs of foul play. Detailed recording of the scene, including building materials, renovations, or structural changes, can become the key when the case is re-examined years later. Second, archival agencies need to preserve long-term files in digitized formats, allowing quick re-access as technology advances. Third, federal coordination between local police, the FBI, forensic labs, and the court system is the key factor in solving cold cases, especially when suspects have moved or changed identities across states. In the conclusion, the report stated, "The Charlotte Reed case is a prime example of justice's ability to revive when science and professionalism intersect. From a disappearance with no evidence, thanks to modern forensic technology, the persistence of investigators, and the integrity of archival work, the case has been closed with an appropriate sentence." This report was later selected as internal training material for the cold case unit across Oklahoma and incorporated into the Police Academy's 2012 training program under the title From Missing to Murder: Lessons from the Reed Investigation. Looking back at the entire journey, from the car left in the parking lot in 1982 to the sentence pronounced in court in 2011, one realizes that fairness does not vanish, it only awaits the moment it is found. The Charlotte Reed case is not just a story of a concealed crime, but also proof of humanity's ability to restore the truth, no matter how long time stretches. In December 2011, more than 30 years after Charlotte Reed disappeared from downtown Oklahoma City, the police department officially completed the case file numbered 82-417. The nearly 400-page document, including all investigation reports, forensic records, trial transcripts, and technical appendices, was placed in a dark blue hardcover labeled Reed Charlotte, 1982. Status: solved, 2011. A red solved stamp was affixed to the top right corner as a final affirmation the case was closed. On the same day, a full copy of the file was transferred to the Central Archive of the Cold Case Division for permanent storage. The department's evidence room also sealed all related items: the metal box, silver necklace, handwritten note, wedding ring, and 1987 cement purchase invoice. Each piece of evidence was placed in moisture-proof glass cases, individually numbered, and stored in a secure vault, not only as evidence of a solved case, but also as illustrative material for future professional training courses. The final report was sent to the Oklahoma Attorney General's office, along with a cover letter from the police chief. The Charlotte Reed case closes with justice. This is not only a victory for forensic science, but also proof of the determination of people who refuse to give up. At the same time, Owen Price, the first investigator in 1982, received an official thank you letter from the Cold Case Unit. In the letter, Maya Hensley wrote by hand, "Your note saved the entire case. Without the line new cement wall, not checked, no one would have found Charlotte. Today's justice is the continuation of the work you started." Upon receiving the letter, Owen simply told a local reporter, "I waited 30 years to hear the word solved." In early 2012, the file Reed Charlotte, 1982 was added to the official curriculum of the Oklahoma Police Academy under the specialized topic, Cold Case Analysis, Restarting, Reconstructing, and Prosecuting. Here, the case was regarded as a prime example of the importance of evidence preservation, accuracy in scene documentation, and the power of trace DNA technology. Every new professional training course began with Charlotte's story, the woman forgotten for nearly 3 decades, found again thanks to the belief that the truth still lay somewhere in those old files. In the 2011 summary reports, the U.S. Department of Justice recognized the Charlotte Reed case as one of the exemplary cold case successes, alongside 4 others solved through modern forensic technology. Criminal justice journals described the case as a symbol of the unrelenting effort by investigative forces to restore justice for forgotten victims. Maya Hensley's name was mentioned in the FBI's internal bulletin as an example of persistence that transcends time and files. In March 2012, at the Oklahoma City Police Department headquarters, a small ceremony was held to officially announce the file closure. On the podium, Maya delivered a short speech to colleagues and the press. "We did not find Charlotte just to close a case. We did it to prove that no truth is erased by time if someone still searches for it." Behind her, a display board featured the basement model and scene photos placed next to the original note, "To-do list, clean storage. 2/15, now laminated in glass, becoming a symbol of the entire investigation. The Charlotte Reed case was referenced at national professional conferences, becoming the topic for presentations on cold case reinvestigations. Other forensic units sent official requests to copy technical files for research purposes. In the Department of Justice's 2013 internal circulation documents, the case was cited with the note, Case 82-417, the Reed example, "Time does not erase evidence, only neglect does." In Oklahoma City, where the scene once stood, the Reed's Pawn and Loan building had been demolished to make way for a new parking lot. A small brass plaque was placed at the former basement location, engraved, "In memory of Charlotte Reed, found after 29 years, justice served." Few passers-by knew the story behind it, but for the investigative force, that plaque was a reminder of the value of perseverance in the profession. The police department's summary report ended with a short, informal, yet symbolic paragraph. The Reed case closes not when the perpetrator is sentenced, but when its lessons become part of the knowledge of the new generation of investigators. Every cold case carries within it a promise that justice may be delayed, but it will never be forgotten. On the last day of 2011, when Maya placed the file Reed, Charlotte, 1982, on the official storage shelf, she affixed the sealing label and signed under "Case Closed." On the cover corner, the faded words, "Unresolved," had been replaced by a bright red, "Solved, 2011." The archive door closed, leaving light filtering through the long rows of metal cabinets. The Charlotte Reed file lay there quietly, not only as proof of a solved case, but as a symbol of the endurance of those who believe in justice, even if it takes 30 years to find it. The story of the Charlotte Reed case is not just a criminal file solved after 30 years, but also a profound reflection of many values and challenges in contemporary American society, especially faith in justice, the power of science, and the importance of individual responsibility in the community. In a country where freedom and law go hand in hand, the Charlotte Reed case reminds us that justice may be delayed, but will never disappear if people persistently pursue it. Investigator Maya Hensley and Owen Price's note, "New cement wall, not checked," are symbols of two generations. One who sows the seed, the other who reaps the harvest, showing the value of professional integrity and perseverance in work. In today's life, where everything happens quickly and people easily forget the value of process, this story advises us to do our part well, even if we may not see immediate results. Every small action, like a note in the 1982 file, can become the key to unlocking justice 30 years later. The case also reminds us of the power of technology and science in protecting society. It was trace DNA techniques, ground-penetrating radar, and handwriting analysis that brought the truth to light. In the context of today's America, where data and technology permeate every field, we are reminded that science only truly has value when guided by ethics and compassion. Finally, the Charlotte Reed case teaches that time does not erase crime, nor does it dim faith, that no matter how long it takes, justice will find its way back as long as people keep searching for it. If you believe that justice, even when buried, can still be found, please subscribe to join us in continuing to explore cases thought to be forgotten. Thank you for following the journey of the Charlotte Reed case. See you in the next story, where the truth is once again unearthed from the darkness.